Hi everyone, my name is Jason Beres. I'm the Senior Vice President of Infragistics Developer Tools, and I'm here today to talk to you about .NET 5 and how it's ready for all of your developer challenges. So let's get started. To learn more about how Infragistics supports .NET 5 and the Korean community, check out our website at infragistics.co.kr to learn more. It's all in Korean language, and for pages that aren't there, we're slowly getting everything migrated over. So let's really start talking about Microsoft .NET 5. And you can see by the graphic here that really .NET 5 is about the languages that you use, but it's also about a lot more. It's really this unified platform. And the unified platform they've been talking about for many, many years. But what the goal is from the Microsoft perspective is to bring together all of these different versions of the .NET framework and then let you build whatever type of application you really want to build. So you're not limited either on the platform that you want to deploy to or the actual platform that you want to build for. And that's why .NET 5 is so exciting. And that's why there's so many people that are rushing to upgrade their applications to .NET 5 because it has all of these new benefits. So when we think about the platform for any type of developer task, let's look at where .NET 5 spent a lot of time improving areas and then innovating in other areas. So all of these platforms, including WebAssembly, which is around Blazor, which is very exciting, but ARM64, so if you're using a Surface Pro X with the ARM64 chips, you can build and target those applications, or even server applications running on Linux, running on 64-bit ARM, and other variations of ARM. We have just Linux in general, so being able to take a .NET Core application, deploy it to Linux, and then of course IoT runtime. So there's a lot of options here for where you deploy and where you build. Also single file deployment, so I can compile everything into a single executable and then ship that to my customers. It makes it super easy to deploy applications now without going through all of these dependencies and checking conflicts and all this other stuff. I can simply deploy one file and everything runs. There's a slew of new features in C# 9 and F# with .NET 5. And so I'm not going to belabor and go into all of those today. But the idea is Microsoft is not only improving the framework capabilities like JSON serialization, regex improvements, HTTP, all of these things that go into building an application, but the language also improves as well. And then ASP.NET Core, which we've had for a couple years, also gets additional improvements. And really what we're driving towards here is .NET 6. So .NET 5 came this year. We expect .NET 6 to come next year. And .NET 6 really unifies all of these platforms into runtimes that can target different environments like iOS, Android, Mac OS, and Windows on ARM, Linux, etc. And when I talk about these deployment options, if you just look at the page where you download .NET, look at the various packages you can download for Linux. So you got ARM32, ARM64, X64 Alpine, Mac OS runtimes for X64, Windows, ARM64, X64, X86. And so the options are really quadruple what they used to be. If you think about 3 years ago, 5 years ago with .NET 3 and .NET 4.x, you were really stuck in this Windows world. Maybe there was some Mac runtimes introduced, but now it's really elevated to a bunch of different platforms. And the best thing about .NET is the ecosystem, which is where Infragistics comes into play. Infragistics has been in the .NET tool space for decades, and we're going to continue to invest with this. But if you look at the fact that .NET went open source, there's 60,000 active open source contributors, 3,700 OSS company contributors. So not only is .NET free, not only is it open source, it has a huge ecosystem. So there's a lot of support in community behind .NET, and that is not slowing down. So let's talk about the third-party ecosystem for UI controls like Infragistics and what Infragistics is doing in the .NET space. So first of all, we are shipping all of our tools to be .NET 5 compliant. So if you're an Infragistics customer and you're moving to .NET 5, you can log in and get all of your .NET 5 features today. So if you want to compile for .NET 5, deploy .NET 5 applications, there's no restrictions with Windows Forms, WPF, and ASP.NET Core and ASP.NET Core MVC. But really, one of the biggest features of .NET 5 and what everyone has mostly been talking about is Blazor. So about 6 months ago, Infragistics introduced a new Blazor product, and this Blazor product is all around helping you build out line of business applications for your customers, just like you did in WPF and in Windows Forms. So we want to give you everything that you need to be able to build out those experiences. So for example, if you're looking at applications that need data grids with all different types of features like sorting and grouping and editing and column pinning and column hiding, all of those features are available in the Infragistics grid for Blazor. Also, high-performance business apps can be built with the Blazor WebAssembly or the Blazor server. So if you really want to get into WebAssembly, go for it. If you want to use the Blazor server and you're using that SignalR connection down to the client, that's available too. We don't limit you on what you can build with the Infragistics tools. And then when you think about any business app, usually you've got a bunch of different UI components, but grids and charts and all these data visualizations end up being very important. So we're continuing to do things around visualizations like tree maps, geospatial maps, gauges, pie charts, bullet graphs. We have over 60 UI components that can let you really build out any type of experience that you like in Blazor. And if you look at the whole body of all of the controls that we're shipping, you can see the list here is pretty large. And what we're trying to do is give you everything you need to build business applications. That's our goal. And we're not stopping with Blazor. We're continuing to push the envelope on what you will eventually need to build out applications. So we also have released 3 new platforms around Uno, Universal Windows Platform, and WinUI. So if you're not familiar with the Uno platform, it is another open source platform which Microsoft embraces and supports. It's not actually a Microsoft platform, but it uses some of the Microsoft capabilities, like, for example, Xamarin. But the great thing about Uno is that you can create single code base applications that target every single device that you can imagine. So think about Mac OS, iOS, Android, Linux, all using C# and XAML. So just like Blazor can use C# and XAML to deploy those or to build those applications, and you can deploy them through the web, either through WebAssembly or Blazor server, Uno allows you to do that to your iOS device, your Android device. The interesting thing here is you might say, well, what about Xamarin? Well, that's true. Xamarin is potentially a competitor to Xamarin. The nice thing about Uno is that you get more platforms. So Xamarin has a set of platforms for mobile, but Uno has actually expanded that, and they've improved their runtime performance. So you get some benefits with using Uno. So if you haven't looked at Uno yet, I highly suggest you check it out, and then take a look at what Infragistics has delivered for Uno in our latest release. At the same time, we have UWP, Universal Windows Platform UI components, which are always great. You can build out your HoloLens, your Xbox applications. This probably isn't the platform of the future, but it's a viable platform today, which can also be used in the other product that we just shipped, which is around WinUI. So WinUI is the truly next generation framework for UI from Microsoft that covers every single platform. And it's early, but it's getting released at a pretty regular basis now, and it'll probably release sometime late next year, potentially with .NET 6. But with WinUI, you can target every Windows platform plus more. So for example, WinUI has React bindings for Mac OS, which again means you can use these same exact code base and then deploy your application to whatever platform you actually want to deploy it to. So it's a very interesting story. We're pretty excited about Uno. We're excited about WinUI. And of course, we still have support for Xamarin and UWP. So when you bring all of this together and you've got Blazor that goes along with this, and UWP and Uno. You have a lot of options for building your business applications as you move from Windows Forms or WPF to a more modern platform. So to learn more, simply go to our website, igniteui.com. You saw the earlier URL for our Korean language website. Please go visit there. And then also we have a lot of blogs on Blazor. And when you're looking at those Blazor blogs, you can learn more about the other frameworks that we're shipping on top of Blazor as well. Like I had mentioned, WinUI, Uno, etc. So that's a real quick wrap up today of looking at .NET 5, the value of .NET 5, why you should consider using .NET 5, and then how third-party companies like Infragistics are supporting developers like yourself to build beautiful, amazing, high-performance experiences with Blazor or your platform of choice and WinUI. So I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank the Korean .NET community for inviting me back again to participate in this year's .NET conference. Thank you.